So on today for TFC Reviews, we have a Mazda. We have a Mazda CX90. So I've always wanted to get one of these on the road. This one's finished in this beautiful candy apple red. And stepping around the front here, that beautiful front end. This is going to be, I think, a really cool review. And also, I love how they call out that very special engine, that inline-six, so unique to Mazda, especially in this price point. Stepping around side, this is a 3-row midsize SUV. Those large rear doors. Stepping around back, this one again came from Florida, so my local Avis is getting a bunch from those. Has all-wheel drive, so on this cold Connecticut day, should be perfect for today's road trip. Got that inline-six badge there again on the side. I have to say, it's a very handsome looking vehicle. So let's go ahead and step on inside and get out of this super cold weather. The wind's blowing, it's freezing. But inside here, it's nice and toasty warm from driving it up and getting it all warmed up. Those heated seats really do come in handy on a day like today. And it's a nice place to be. So I'm really excited to get this one on the road. Let's get into it. So, the Mazda CX90 all-wheel drive. Initial thoughts. I am impressed. I'm always impressed with a Mazda. It's funny, actually. One of my very first cars was a Mazda. Granted, it was a quote-unquote Ford Mazda. But they're in like a little special category of their own, I feel. So with Mazdas, they're built in Japan. They've been around for a bit. They've gone through different ownerships over the years. But I feel like in the 2000s, they've kind of started repositioning themselves. And with that, in the last 20 years or so, they've really elevated their game. But they do it in a different way than what you'll see out of Korea. They do it in a way that's a little bit more subtle, but they put all their R&D, engineering into the driving experience. If you are of a certain age, you might remember those Zoom Zoom commercials from the mid-2000s, and these things do zoom zoom for a mainstream, not even luxury, it's like a just mainstream automobile manufacturer. So let's go and get into my initial thoughts. I've never driven a CX90 before. I've driven Mazda 6s, 3s, CX5s, and even the CX90, it's kind of, they've gone back and forth with their names. I actually had to look up to find out what this was as a CX9, CX90. I feel they have gone back and forth over the years with their larger SUV and what they want to call it. But this is a CX90. It is all-wheel drive, and so with that, we'll go ahead and get into it, start it up. And again, there's nothing like, sorry about that. Actually, that is a on this initial review video. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay, so when you did start it up, it went ahead and connected and then disconnected the video, so that is something to note. But overall, first off, it does have a digital center gauge, but they do a very good job actually of making it, still look, like physical gauges. They have a physical gauge there for your tachometer and for your temperature and for your fuel. So definitely for the things that matter, they keep as physical gauges. And overall materials, they're decent. This one has about almost 26,000 miles on it. And with these reviews, I really do want to touch on how these vehicles actually hold up over time, especially if you're looking at them in the used market, or if you do buy new. It's kind of like a crystal ball to figure out how they are going to hold up over time for you, and that can impact the resale value, the depreciation, and then your just overall experience with that vehicle. And again, as I always say, vehicles are not cheap, so it is a significant investment, and why not try to maximize that investment by choosing options that are going to last you. They're going to end up having a higher resale, lower depreciation, and all these little things do impact that. So fit and finish, quality materials, reliability, and then also just perception in the marketplace too is going to impact all that resale value and your wallet at the end of the day, because you know, who wants car payments forever? And then also, who wants to be underwater, you know, in their loans for their vehicles as well too. So anyway, getting into this Mazda. So as I mentioned, Mazda it's still a mainstream manufacturer, so it competes with, you know, Toyotas, Hondas, and even Fords, even to a degree, like on the domestic market, anything from like, you know, GM that's not in their premium, you know, category, and then, you know, out of Europe, maybe like Volkswagens, you know, to a degree too. But they've always been, since they did that rebranding and repositioning in the early to mid 2000s, a little bit more premium than those other offerings. And so you are getting a little bit nicer experience at that mainstream manufacturer category price point. And so with it, just some initial thoughts on this. Like I said, I like it. And one thing right off the bat, they do put a lot of R&D and a lot of their money in how it drives. So if you've ever driven a late 2000s or even before BMW or, you know, anything out of Europe, they do have a little bit tighter feel. The steering feels heavier, and this has that feeling. It feels substantial. It's nice. It feels weighted. It feels European. It almost feels like a Japanese Volkswagen or entry-level BMW for that matter. One other notable fact about this, and I highlighted there on the intro of the video, it has a straight 6. And so what that means is, instead of having like a V6 where the cylinders are aligned in a V, all the cylinders are aligned in a straight line. And so that was very typical of BMWs of the past and to today. And straight 6s are known for being so, you know, the smoother type engines. They're silky smooth. They're amazing. They're not the most fuel efficient, so it'll be interesting to see like how this does on MPGs as we go on this road trip today. But overall, like, it's a very interesting choice in today's market where everyone's going to turbo 4s or getting rid of their V8s and going to twin turbo V6s and hybridization, and Mazda being still a fairly, like, it's a smaller car company, and they're kind of a niche, like a little nichey kind of like player too, a little bit. Like they're almost like a little, you think like a little boutique store, like a little boutique brand almost now, because they're not, you know, one of the big guys, but they still put out a very good product, I feel. And I'm really excited to get this one on the road. On just driving it off the lot, it has, again, that heavy steering, which is, you know, much appreciated. You can really feel the road, which is, you know, a good thing if you do appreciate driving dynamics. And again, overall fit and finish is very good. That engine is so super smooth and so silky. It's very nice. Not sure on the reliability, but it is Japanese. And one thing to note too, these are built in Japan, so you are getting that additional quality for being built in the main Japanese factory and those tighter controls. But there are a couple little things I did notice coming up here on about 26,000 miles. So the gear shifter is a little funny. It's a little wobbly, a little, so that could just be from abuse of being a rental car. But if you have one of these, let me know in the comments. And if you are experiencing some just little niggles and wiggles in your switch gear. Also, it took me forever to figure out how to tune the radio. And so I do really appreciate like what they've done here with their infotainment. There is no touchscreen, so no nasty grimy fingerprints up on the touchscreen. It does have this nice giant rotary dial here, which is very nice. It's fairly intuitive, except I could not figure out how to change the radio station. If we go back here, we're in CarPlay now. Let's get out of CarPlay, actually. Let's see if we can figure this out. Can you get out of CarPlay? Oh. There we go. So we're out of CarPlay, but trying to figure out, it's pretty easy. You know, you can see here, just dial. And what's nice here too, you don't have to take your hands up here. It's nice, and you're not having to go all over your cabin to like try and change things. And it's very nice and, you know, fairly safe, I feel. You do have your controls on your steering wheel as well too. But when I was trying to figure out how to change the radio, we'll turn that down. This icon here for menu is so little, and like if you're just getting into this thing for the first time, yeah, it's not the most intuitive. So here I was like, well, those look like little tuning buttons there. You can't do anything with that. This is a little wiggly. I don't know exactly what this wiggles for. I'll have to look that up, but it doesn't tune. So ultimately figured out you got to press down on your big button there, and then go to tuner controls. And then you can even that, like it's a little confusing, but I think with this, it will go in between like, you know, your favorites. Actually, no, it's okay. It's somewhat, you press down on it, but even still, they'll like auto tune to like the next station. If you go back, it does have an option for manual tuning, which I feel also, this is very like iDrive like, which a lot of people want to be haters on iDrive from BMW, and like, in the newer BMWs, I think it's so super complicated, and it's probably one of those things you just have to get used to, because as they like went over the years with it, when I was first introduced, everyone hated iDrive on BMW, and then over the years, I think it got better. On our little 3 Series, I think it's fairly intuitive, and it has a similar kind of manual tuning on here, and so really like, I feel this is trying to be like a budget BMW, and that doesn't, you know, that's not to knock Mazda at all. I think that's actually a very good compliment for them. And the budget Japanese BMW, I think that's really like a good way to like describe like what this, even kind of like how the dash is laid out. This is giving me very late 20-teens BMW layout, and with your which also I do appreciate, they do have physical controls here for the most part. This is, you know, it's a physical control but a digital readout, but that's again nice that they put it here. I don't even think you can control it through, no they don't. So up here you can't even control it's strictly just infotainment, so entertainment, communication, navigation, and then, you know, vehicle settings. So no HVAC controls up here through your infotainment screen. So I do like that they keep it just dedicated down here. It doesn't need to be in 8 different places like we see on some of our other vehicles we rented. I think that's a good thing. Again, nice physical buttons throughout here, which is very good. And then you have wireless car charging. You have your vehicle dynamic select, and I've been driving around in normal mode, but I did slap it into sport, which will change this to like a red, I believe. There you go. And I think that's gonna be the mode we're gonna drive in today. That's fun. So we're gonna leave it there in sport for when we take off today. But again, overall, it's a great vehicle. Get into, like, it is a three-row SUV, so these do compete with the likes of like your Hyundai Palisades and your Ford Explorers, vehicles like that, your Toyota Highlander, the big one, the Grand Highlander, I guess they call it, or the extended, you know, it just came out in the last year, but that long wheelbase Highlander. And then also, what else would it compete against? Your Jeep Grand Cherokees, L to a degree. But overall, this is just a much different approach to try and set itself apart a bit than those other manufacturers. It has subtle luxury components to it. So again, like those driving dynamics are like where they put their money, you know, over at Mazda. And also just not having, you know, gimmicks. So they didn't see any ambient lighting when I was driving this last night, and which, you know, some people might, you know, make that a deal breaker. They might think it's like boring, and even the infotainment's a little, it's very simple. But again, you know, you get in a car to drive, you don't get in a car to, you know, be entertained by screens. And if you do, well, you probably have very high insurance rates. So it's so far a good experience. This one I will look up. I think it's actually probably more of a baser model. It doesn't have a panoramic sunroof or anything, just a regular standard sunroof. The seats are a leathery material. I don't think, it might be leather, I don't know, it feels kind of rubbery. But on the dash, it's all nice kind of soft materials, which is good. Also, you probably can't see it in the camera. We'll zoom in if we can. There we go. It does have a heads-up display, which is cool too. So it looks pretty simple, just your speed, and then if you have your cruise control set, we'll play around with that later to see if that is configurable or not. On your door cards, they're pretty standard. Have a nice little graphic-y material thing there, and the door pulls are a little low, but you know, not gonna ding them for that. What else? That's pretty much it. The back doors are actually pretty wide, which is kind of cool. So if you do use that third row, then it should be pretty easy to get at least kids back there. If I was an adult, I don't think I'd want to sit back there. So I think anytime you're putting adults in a third row, you are better off with going with a full-size SUV, something like a Yukon, a Denali, Ford Expedition, something like that. Just to, if you absolutely had to put people back there, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable in a larger SUV like that, or even just maybe even a minivan. But any of these mid-sized three-row SUVs, really that back seat, it's best for kids. We'll go and check out like how the back seat feels later on when we do our full review. But again, I'm so excited to get this one on the road, see how it drives. So far, the driving dynamics are amazing, especially for this mainstream type of you know, SUV. And you know, again, it's not a premium SUV, it's not a Cadillac, it's not even a Genesis or anything like that. But the way it drives, though, again, it drives like older BMWs, which I miss. Like, I think that's something that I wish we could get back to. You don't need like all these configurations and all that. It's gimmicky. You know, just give me great driving dynamics. Vehicle it's going to handle well, accelerate nice and smooth, go around corners in a fun, sporty way. Well, as fun and sporty as you can in a three-row mid-size SUV. But I think this is going to be a good one. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get on the road, see what this Mazda CX-9 is all about, and we will see you in the full review later on. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, comment, share. Even if you didn't like it, it still does help the channel and helps put out more of these videos. And if there are things you would like to see, please let me know in those comments, and we will make sure to try and incorporate them in our future videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.